Hello and welcome back to my channel, Spina Bifida Guide to Hope. My name is Leilani and today is a story time. So I mentioned that I was going to do a story time in my previous video. If you have not watched it, please feel free to view that video. It would be much appreciated and come back to this one. But today we're going to talk about a surgery that I had back in 2021, and that surgery was a shunt tubal removal. Now, to start from the beginning of that time, so there was a day where I really was having like discomfort on the right side of my neck and I didn't know what was going on. And I have two VP shunts on both sides, and this day I was just having discomfort on the neck area where the tubing is. So my shunts go from my brain all the way down to my abdomen, and I just thought maybe it was scar tissue. And usually I do have issues with scar tissue because my shunts are really old, so they have a lot of scar tissue wrapped around them. And usually if I turn a certain way or if I'm doing a certain activity, sometimes that scar tissue does pull or rip and it hurts or it causes discomfort. So this day, like I said, it was the right side of my neck, and I kind of ignored it and didn't really think much of it because, again, I thought it was scar tissue. So I just went on about my day, and I remember telling my mom about it, and again, it wasn't really much of a concern because, you know, of course, her being my mom, she was concerned, but I was like, don't worry about it. It's probably just scar tissue. There's no need to go to the emergency room and like panic. So I just let it be. And a couple days had passed, and I had gone to dinner with my family, and I remember I turned a certain way. I think I turned to my left, or I like turned to my left and like looked down, and I don't remember if it was my grandmother. Somebody said, "What's that on your neck?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "There's like a lump there." So I, went and I felt it, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, like that." I told mom about that, my mom about that a couple days ago, and there wasn't a lump there when I told her about it, but now there was a lump. And I was like, okay, that's weird. I didn't think it was anything internal, like having to do with the shunt. I thought, oh, maybe it's just a pimple. I thought like something super simple. I didn't think anything of it. And at that time, my neck didn't really hurt anymore. So I thought the scar tissue issue went away. So my mom was like, it's on your shunt, so like I think we should definitely keep an eye on it if it gets any bigger, and if it does, like, then obviously that's a concern and we should go to the hospital. So I said okay, and it was left at that. Then about 2 weeks passed, and I was working, and on this day I felt pretty normal. No like symptoms of shunt malfunction that I noticed or anything like that. It was just a normal day. I was working. It was the morning. I had a full shift that day. But as time kind of went on at work, and I was like, doing paperwork and stuff like that, looking down, looking up, looking this way, that discomfort came back. And I was like, ugh, the scar tissue again. But the lump was actually still there, and I'm like, maybe it's really something that I gotta get checked out. But again, I kind of brushed it off. And as the day kept going on, I started to feel more and more pain in my neck, to the point where like I felt like I couldn't like move it. And I kept feeling that lump, and it felt even bigger than it was prior. So I was like, all right, something's wrong. I have to go. So I told my boss, hey, I need to go to the ER. Something's wrong. find somebody to cover the rest of my shift, because again, I had a full shift, but it was still the morning. So my mom picks me up and we head to the hospital. And again, I'm not thinking anything super serious, because I've never had anything super serious with my shunts. The last revision I ever had, I was 5 years old. So it's been decades at that point that I've had my last revision. So I'm like, ain't no way that I'm gonna need a revision. So we go to the hospital. They take me very quickly and check me out, and they run some tests, CAT scan and all that, and immediately they're like, okay, you need surgery. That's when I panic. So I'm like, what do you mean I need surgery? And they're like, that lump you have there, it looks like a blockage. We need to go in there and see what's going on. So immediately I'm panicking, because again, I haven't had a revision or anything done to my shunt since 5 years old. So, you know, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's gonna happen. So I'm really, really scared and I'm nervous. And they wanted to do it that day. Everything was just so fast. And I'm like, okay, you wanna do it now? Is my neurosurgeon, who is like the best, literally, I loved my neurosurgeon. I no longer have the same neurosurgeon, because at the time that I had this done, I was still in a children's hospital, and about a year or two later, I aged out. So I asked, I was like, is my neurosurgeon, who, you know, I'm used to, is he available? And they told me no, that he wasn't in that day, and that some other neurosurgeon was gonna do it. And I panicked even more. I was like, absolutely not. I'm sorry, like, if this is an emergency, like, I definitely have to get it done today, then fine. But if I can wait, then I'd rather wait for my neurosurgeon, who I am completely comfortable with. I don't know this other neurosurgeon. I don't want him or her to, you know, go in there, and I'm not trying to say that they didn't know what they were doing, but it was just a trust thing with me. I trust my personal doctors more than anything. So I didn't want to, you know, risk anything. So I asked, I was like, can it wait? And they actually said yes, that he'll be in the morning, and he agreed, because they had contacted him. He agreed that first thing in the morning, I was gonna be, you know, in the operating room with him. So the next morning came, and first thing in the morning, I think it was like 6 a.m., I was prepped for surgery, and I went into the operating room. I don't remember how long it took. I don't think it was a long procedure. I think it maybe took an hour, if that. But I got it done, and then I found out what was done. Basically what they found, that lump was actually a cyst that was growing inside the tubing of my right shunt. And the reason for the cyst growing is because that part of the tubing was actually separated. And on that gap around the scar tissue that was already formed there, even though the tubing was broken, there was scar tissue around that space. And in that scar tissue grew that cyst. So what they had done was they actually partially removed the tubing in my right shunt. I still have the valve here in my head, but from the valve all the way to my chest area, there's no tubing. So there's literally no connection. There's just subliminal tubing in my abdomen and then the valve, but it's not connected. But that's what they did. They just partially took out my tubing. They did keep me for 4 days after my surgery because they wanted to monitor me and make sure that I didn't need my shunts. Now, I'm thinking, okay, it's one shunt. I guess I don't need that shunt. The other one's working. No. Come to find out that both of my VP shunts on both sides were not working at all. Both of my shunts were actually broken in some places on the tubing, and neither of them were flowing my brain fluid throughout my body. What was actually flowing the brain fluid throughout my body was my own body. The tubing, the shunt, both of them just literally stopped working one day, and my brain decided, or my body decided, that okay, we're just gonna work. The valves are just gonna work the way that they're supposed to without the shunts. I've never personally heard of that. When the doctors kept me for those 4 days, they were kind of stunned too. Like, they've never even heard of it. I asked them, I was like, you know, have you guys ever run into a case like this where basically shunts stop working and then all of a sudden a patient doesn't need them anymore? And no, they never heard of that. So I don't know, but that was a crazy experience to find out that I didn't even need my shunts anymore, both of them, let alone one. I still have the one on my left fully. Like I said, both of them are broken on some places in the tubing, but they don't want to go in there and take any part of my left shunt out, or take completely the shunt out, or take fully, you know, the right shunt out either, because it's not affecting me in any way. Now, if it does in the future, or if it, you know, something happens to where I need them fully removed or partially removed, like I did with my right shunt, then obviously they would go in and they would do what they would have to do. But other than that, there's no need for neurosurgery to go in there and, you know, mess with anything, because I'm fine. Now, as far as recovery went, after the 4 days in the hospital, I was sent home and they gave me pain meds, you know, for the discomfort. But other than that, I was pretty okay. Like, yeah, like I had discomfort, but it wasn't like a super big deal. The only thing that was a big deal for my recovery was the fact that my neck was so stiff. When I would try to turn it anyway, or look up or look down, it hurt. That's when that side really hurt. There was like this tense, like pulling, or like this stiffness, and that lasted for a couple of weeks, or maybe a few weeks. I would say about like 2-3 weeks that lasted. So during that time, I did not go back to work. I allowed my body to kind of heal more, and, you know, allow my neck to fully like be able to turn and look down and look up before I returned to work. And that took about a month. So it wasn't like a super long recovery, but it wasn't a short recovery either. But after recovery, I went back to my normal life, and ever since that, I haven't had any problems. Like I said, doctors told me that my ventricles are basically working on their own at this point, and they don't even know, because before that happened, I hadn't had a shunt issue, so I haven't had my shunts like scanned in a long time. So really, no one knew that my shunts were broken all this time until this incident happened with the cyst. So who knows how long, if it was years, months, I don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows how long it was before that happened that my ventricles decided one day, hey, we're gonna work. That I can explain. Doctors can't even explain it. Like I said, I've asked. So it's very interesting. But since then, since that removal, I haven't had any issues whatsoever. I haven't had to have my shunts checked again. I haven't had any discomfort. Now with this shunt specifically, because it's still like fully there can be times where I still have that pulling of the scar tissue or the tearing of the scar tissue in some areas, but that's very rare. It doesn't happen very often. As far as the side with partially my tubing missing, that side I don't have any pooling at all because there's no tubing there or scar tissue there anymore to pull or rip. So that's really the only difference, is that I don't have any more issues with scar tissue on this side specifically. So yeah, that's basically what happened with my right shunt. I have partial tubing now, and this shunt on the left still is fully there, and neither of them work. It beats me. So if anybody has answers as to how in the world this happened, I would love to hear your theories. Also, mind you, on the day that I needed the surgery, and I tell this to people all the time when I talk about this experience that I had, because I feel so bad, but it was on Mother's Day. So my mom had to spend her Mother's Day in the hospital with me because I was too stubborn to go and figure it out 2 weeks prior what was wrong with my shunt. I still feel really bad about that, but it's part of the story. Sorry, Mom. And again, if any of you who are watching this have experienced or have heard of this type of experience before, where someone no longer needs their shunt or shunts, let me know, because I still have questions of how in the world that happened to me. I don't understand it. How are they both broken and my ventricles are suddenly working? I don't know. Please put it in the comments, let me know, because I would love to find out that answer. I don't know if I'll ever find out that answer, but it is what it is. And that's my story on what happened to me during the 5 years that I've been gone from this channel. That was a surgery that I had. It wasn't a huge surgery, it wasn't a big thing, it didn't take long to recover from. The only thing that was like surprising or shocking or like something to kind of like get used to was the fact that I don't need my shunts. That's my story time. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your view. And if you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe down below. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.